प्रेम से बोलो श्री गणेश भगवान की जय। नमस्कार, सीताराम, good evening, assalamu alaikum. Welcome on behalf of the Gopee family to this very beautiful evening of celebrating life. But before we get into the conversations from the Ramcharitamanas and the Holy Bhagavad Gita, from wherever you are, please reflect on that internal dialogue. Let's quieten the inner voice, and to do so, please close your eyes as we begin with Ramayana Sumiran. गणानान्त्वा गणपति गुंहवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पतः न शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सिद्धिसाधनम्। ओम श्री महागणाधिपतये नमः। हरे राम हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। बोलो
हरे राम 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 हरे हरे।
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। बोलिए
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे।
हरे राम 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 हरे हरे।
हरे राम राम हरे हरे।
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे।
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे।
गणनायक करिवर वदना जही सुमिरत सिद्धि हो रामा।
जही सुमिरत सिद्धि होई रामा।
जही सुमिरत सिद्धि हो रामा। बोलो
जही सुमिरत सिद्धि होई रामा।
गणनायक करिवर बदना करऊ अनुग्रह सोई रामा।
करऊ अनुग्रह सोई रामा।
बुद्धि राशि शुभ गुण सदना
शुभ गुण सरना।
मूक होई वाचाल रामा। गाय पंगु चढ़ैया गिरिवर कहरा
गिरिवर कहना जासु कृपा सुदयाल रमा जासु कृपा सुदयाल रमा
द्रवो सकल कलिमल दहना
कलिमल दहना
अरहुनी सरोरहु श्याम रामा
नील सरोरहु श्याम रमा
करुणारुण वारिज नयना
वारिज नयना
करहु सुमम उरे धाम रमा
करहु सुमम उरे धाम रमा
सदा क्षीर सागर शयना
सागर शयना
कुंद इंदु समदेह रमा
कुंदइन्दु समदेह रमा
कुंद इंदु समदेह रमा
कुंदइन्दु समदेह रमा
उमारमणि करुणायणा
करुणायना
ओ बोलो जाहि दीन परदेह रमा
जाहि दीन परदेह रमा
करो कृपा मर्दनमयना
मर्दनमयना
ओ बोलो बंदो गुरुपद गंज रमा
बंदो गुरुपद गंज रमा
कृपा सिंधु नर रूप हरि
नर रूप हरि
महामोहितम कुंज रमा
महामोहतम कुंज रमा
जासु वचन रवि करण करा
रवि करनि करा
ओ बोलो श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम
श्री राम जय राम जय जय
ओ
राम
बोलो श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम
श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम
श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम गणनायक करिवर वदना
हरिवर वदना
जहि सुमिरत सिद्धि हो। प्रेम से बोलो श्री गणेश भगवान की जय। गम गणपते श्री गणेश महागणपते श्री गणेश। प्रेम से बोलो श्री गणेश भगवान की गम गणपते श्री गणेश महागणपते श्री गणेश।
गं गणपति श्री गणेश महागणपति श्री गणेश
गम गणपते श्री गणेश महागणपते श्री। Come on, lift your voices with us. Chant.
गं गणपति श्री गणेश महागणपति श्री गणेश
रिद्धिदायक श्री गणेश बुद्धि प्रदायक श्री गणेश।
रिद्धिदायक श्री गणेश बुद्धि प्रदायक श्री गणेश
सिद्धिदायक श्री गणेश सिद्धिविनायक श्री गणेश।
सिद्धिदायक श्री गणेश सिद्धिविनायक श्री गणेश
गं गणपति श्री गणेश महागणपति श्री। Come on, chant with us. बोलो गं गणपति
श्री गणेश महागणपति श्री गणेश
जय जय गणपति नमः जय जय गणपति नमः Jai Jai Ganapati Namah. Jai Jai Ganapati. Come on, chant Bolo. Jai Jai Ganapati Namah. 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 Jai Jai Ganapati Namah.
Jai Jai Ganapati Namah. Jai Jai Ganapati Namah.
Moriari, Baba Moriari.
Moriari, Baba Moriari.
Hey 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 Moria, Moria, Moriari.
Moriari, Baba Moriari.
Hey Moriari, Baba Moriari.
Moriari, Baba Moriari.
Ganpati Bappa Moria, Mangalamurti Moria.
Baba Moria, Mangalamurti Moria.
Ganpati Bappa Moria, Mangalamurti Moria. Ganpati Bappa Moria, Mangalamurti Moria. Ganpati Bappa Moria, Mangalamurti Moria. Ganpati Bappa Moria, Mangalamurti Moria. Ganpati Bappa Moria, Mangalamurti Moria. Ganpati Bappa Moria, Mangalamurti Moria. Ganpati Bappa Moria, Mangalamurti Moria. Ganpati Bappa Moria, Mangalamurti Moria. Ganpati Bappa Moria, Mangalamurti Moria. Ganpati Bappa Moria, Mangalamurti Moria. Ganpati Bappa Moria, Mangalamurti Moria. Gam Ganapate Shri Ganesh Mahaganapate Shri Ganesh. प्रेम से बोलो श्री उमापति महादेव की जय. 130 years, cumulatively speaking. 80 years, just a few days ago, marked. But this celebration this evening also commemorates 50 years as a chartered accountant. And when we reflect on what those numbers mean, celebrating life and celebrating success, it allows us to think a little deeper as invitees to such an evening of celebration. It allows us to think and to think deeply about our own life. We have shown up here this evening. We have come here on the invitation of the Gopee family. But it is more than just to listen. It is more than just to enjoy a meal together. And it is more than just a social event. It is a time when we're allowed to reflect on our own life. And tonight we will navigate two very beautiful verses, one from Bhagavad Gita and the other from the Ramcharitamanas. And looking at this word that is called success, we must reflect on our own lives. Is it relevant? But the very first thing that we should understand, it is what is the meaning of success. If you ask a businessman, he will give you his definition of success. You ask an artist, or he will or she will tell you what that means to her. A musician will have something different. And therefore, success means different things to different people based on what's important to them. On this beautiful evening, I'm asking you, if death knocks on your door at this moment, can you say that in your last moments, you'll be leaving this world thinking and knowing that your life would have been one of success? You see, in the Western world, in the modern world that we live in today, success means the accomplishment, the achievement of something tangible. But in the ancient East, there's another or a deeper or more sustained meaning to the word success. And that is, according to Swami Chinmayanandaji, Swami Chinmayanandaji told the world, he says the definition of success or happiness, it is a ratio between desires that we fulfill and the desires that we entertain. Because in this life, if you achieve everything that you want, wouldn't you be happy, Rafiji? you'll be happy, isn't it? If we achieve everything that we desire, life will be wonderful. This will be Satyug probably. But the beauty about life, it is that the desires that we entertain are not always fulfilled. And that is why the total ratio of, if fulfillment is on the numerator and the number of desires that we entertain is on the denominator, because that ratio will never achieve 1, it's an ideal state. We're always aspiring to achieve more of that which we wish for. And therefore life isn't always a bed of roses. 80 years and 50 years, they mean something. It means that those years have been colored by the ups and downs of life. Those 80 and 50 years have been colored by sweetness and some moments of bitterness. Successes and some moments, at least from the Western world, may look like disappointment and hurt. But tonight, as we throw them all in the pot of 130 years, let's look at our life as well to appreciate what is the grander meaning of success in our life. Let's join. As we chant from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 38, Hey Partha, Arjuna is saying, or listening to the words of Krishna rather, as we chant Doha style. Let's chant. लाभ हानि सुखे दुख अजया श्री कृष्ण शरणं मम श्री कृष्ण लाभ हानि सुखे दुख अजया जय हुमानि समापो कृष्ण जय हुमानि समाप क्षत्रिय धर्मरन समुझिया क्षत्रिय धर्मरन समुझिया लड़ा लहो नहीं पासिया पति रामचंद्र जी की जय शरणम उमापति महादेव की जय पवन सुत हनुमान की जय वृंदावन कृष्ण चंद्र की जय पुरेश्वर जगन्नाथ की जय बोलो भाई सब संतन की जय अयोध्या राम लला की जय सियापति रामचंद्र जी की जय शरणम प्रेम से बोलो श्री वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की जय. Bhagwan Sri Krishna is explaining this concept of success. He says, Sukhe dukhe same kritva labha labhau jaya jaya. In this world, you will experience moments of smiles. And in other moments, today I visited the Waterloo cremation site. 6 pyres burning away. 3 of them victims of the fisherman attack recently. And 1 a relative. And it is a reminder that on those shores or in the ground when we're eventually offered there, it doesn't matter whether we're Raja or a Jogi. Whether we're a king, Raja bhi jayega or Jogi bhi jayega. We all have to go. And in that final moment, what does success look like? Because in that moment, it doesn't differentiate. And therefore, between our mother's womb and Dharti Mata's tomb, that journey between those years literally is how we should look at life from a perspective of success. And Krishna reminds Arjuna, he says that there will be moments of fulfillment and there will be moments of hurt. He says, in life, you will experience the sadhu, and in Balkand Ramcharitramanas, Tulsidas also says, you will experience those who will be asadhu. Sujati and Kujati, all the extremes of life, the swinging of the pendulum, this is what life is about. And therefore, how do you experience the fullness of life? You know, it is a fallacy to think that when you pray to God, some of us think when we chant mantras to Ganesha, Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, It means that God, in the form of Ganesha, will not allow any obstacles to come in our way. We're fooling ourselves. When we pray to Ganesha, or when we pray to any, based on our limited understanding of God, when we pray to God, it should never be to remove obstacles. Karma has to take its course. And therefore, when we pray to God, it is to allow us that when obstacles or challenges or opportunities must come our way, we must have the Ganesha's ability to overcome. It is not to remove. It is to help us to see beyond and to become better, not bitter, but better because of those experiences that life will have to offer. And Krishna is saying to Arjuna, he says, Labha hani sukha dukha ajaya. He is reminding us that you can't escape the swinging of the pendulum, oh children, oh brothers and sisters. You can't escape those moments. And therefore the secret is not in running away, not in masking, but understanding how to deal and to confront life when it shows up. There's a very beautiful quotation that says, life, half of life, is what happens to you, but a prettier part of life, it is how we respond to that which happens to us. Can I say that again? Half of life is that which happens to us, but the optimal experience of life comes from the way that we respond. And that response is a choice. And many of us go through life reacting. It is almost as though when we go to the doctor's office, Pranam, Professor G. When you go to the doctor's office and he knocks on the knee for the reflex action, he taps the knee and our foot will kick up and he says, you're okay. Something is working with respect to the neurological responses. Acha, very good. But life should not be like that, that when life squeezes us, we should not be quick to respond. We must think. We must ponder. We must ensure that that which is inside, that when we're squeezed, what comes out is what is also beautiful. And for that to happen, we must have that conscious space between that which happens to us and how we respond to that which happens. Let's join in this very beautiful chant as we explore a powerful mantra that was given to the world. Please chant. Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murari Nath Narayana Vasudeva. Hare Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki Jai. Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murari Nath Narayana Vasudeva. Hare Krishna. Come on, sing with us.
Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murari Nath Narayana Vasudeva.
Nath Narayana Vasudeva. Hare Krishna.
Gopala, Gopala, Devaki Nandan Gopala.
Gopala, Gopala, Devaki Nandan Gopala.
Devaki Nandan 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 Gopala, Devaki Nandan Gopala.
Bolo Gopala, Gopala, Devaki Nandan Gopala. 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 Devaki Nandan Gopala, Devaki Nandan Gopala, Devaki Nandan Gopala.
Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murari Dinath Narayana Vasudeva. Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki. There's a very powerful, popular mantra. I'm sure all of you know this mantra. It goes like this. It was given to the world by a gentleman whose name was Reinfeld Niebuhr. And Reinfeld Niebuhr, he offered the world this mantra. The mantra says, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change. Give me the courage, finish it, to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. When we wake up in the morning, every human being, whether it's in Trinidad and Tobago, in China, in Africa, the United States of America, there's a prayer that is offered. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, Lord, let me have a miserable day today. I've made 80 years. Give me one day miserable at least. Nobody offers that prayer. And therefore, when we wake up in the morning, even if whether it's spoken or whether it's via intent, everyone wakes up with a motive. Lord, give me the courage to go out and co-create with you, Lord. Let me become the architect of the day that I want. And these days accumulate, they accrue, and they become weeks and months and henceforth years until we say farewell. We wake up every single day with the motive, with the intent to go out and conquer our day, to create a world and a day, our world, in such a way that we're closer to achieving that which we have defined as success in our life. Isn't that so? We have a varied background here this evening. We have the friends of dear Bob Gopee. We have family members. We have business associates. We have those who worship with him. And the spectrum of individuals who have come here this evening tells us something, that in life, how we see life, it is okay to see it differently. And the things that are important to you, it is okay to be different as well. And therefore, when you navigate your life, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change. That's the part that we have a little problem with. We wake up every morning thinking about the things that we want to achieve. Guess what? If we achieved all the things that we wanted to, according to Swami Chinmayanandaji, life will be just cool. It will be okay. But the things that we want and the things that we desire, we don't always get them. The way we plan life doesn't always work out that way. The children are told, as we grow up, don't just have a plan A, you should have a plan B. But these days, as many letters there are in the alphabet, think about contingencies in life. The moment things don't go the way that we want them to, many of us think that we are no longer that success. Many of us think that we are now, I would like to use that F word tonight, many of us think that we are a failure. And that's the word that Sanatana Dharma never allows in our thinking. In the management school, we're told that there's nothing like a failure when things don't go wrong, when the business plan does not meet its objective at the end of the fiscal year, or whatever is the period of review. It's never a failure. It's an opportunity waiting. And therefore, as organizations, you look for that opportunity to change course, to change plans, to change strategy. The vision remains the same, but how you get there are different mechanisms of doing that. And what's different in life? Absolutely nothing. And therefore, when things don't work out the way that we want them to, give me the courage to change the things that I can. But most importantly, the punchline in this prayer says, give me the wisdom to know the difference. When to change gears, when to move from plan A to plan B. And therefore, when we look at our life, can you say that you're a success? Tulsidas, Bhagavad Gita, they're reminding us that you will always experience the swinging of the pendulum, the extremes of life. But tonight, at 10 minutes after 7 at the Divali Nagar, at the invitation of the Gopee family, if life or your life is plucked away at this very moment, can you say that life was a success? The inventor of the light bulb, a gentleman by the name of Thomas Edison. You all know him? You've heard about him? Thomas Edison, when he was recognized for the invention of the light bulb, the person who was recognizing him said, here is Mr. Edison, the one who tried and failed 1,000 times before he gave the world the light bulb. And at the end of that award ceremony and recognition ceremony, one bright reporter approached him and said, Sir, Mr. Edison, how did it feel to fail 1,000 times? And he said, fail? I don't understand that word. He says, what I do know now, it is 1,000 different ways how not to make a light bulb. What are the moments in your life? Has there been a relationship that didn't quite work out? Today, the word divorce, sometimes society tends to label when a relationship doesn't work out as a failure. When a child does not get the result that she wants when she writes the examinations, SCA, CSEC, CAPE, whatever it is, sometimes society has a way of saying that or defining that as a failure. When you don't get the promotion or the movement in your job or the increase in salary, as the case may be, in the timing that you wanted it, sometimes people think that that's a failure. But devotees of God, tonight, as we celebrate with Bob 80 years plus 50, I wish to remind you that it is one thing for society to label those experiences and events as failures. But the greatest disservice that you can do to yourself is when you yourself call and define it as a failure. Because it does not exist in Sanatana Dharma. It is an opportunity. And when life presents to you certain experiences, that may be the bitter pill to swallow. Remember, half of life is what happens to you. But the prettier part of life is how we respond to that which happens. He who loses money loses much. He who loses a friend loses more. But he who loses faith, not only in God, but in one's self, which is the same, loses everything. And tonight, as we celebrate this beautiful milestone with Sri Bab Gopee ji, let us reflect on our own life. According to the words of Bhagavan Sri Krishna and Tulsidas, let's join as we understand if seeing life and the swinging of the pendulum as part of the process of being a success, what else is important? Let's join as Tulsi Baba tells us in Lanka Khan. Please join. Shri Rama, O Jaya Rama, Jaya Jaya Rama, O Jaya Jaya Rama, Jaya Rama, Jaya Jaya Rama, Shri Ram Jaya Rama,
Jaya Jaya Rama.
बोले लिए कभी निकल बहोरी, निकल बहोरी, सकल सुनहु बिनती कछु मोरी, सकल सुनहु बिनती कछु मोरी। बोलो श्री राम
जय रामा
जय जय रामा, जय जय रामा, श्री राम जय राम,
जय जय रामा। श्री राम जय राम, जय जय रामा।
राम चरण राम चरण पंकज धरऊ, श्री राम जय राम,
जय जय रामा।
राम चरण पंकज धरऊ, कौतुक एक, कौतुक एक, आलू कभी करहु। बोलो श्री राम
जय राम, जय जय राम, जय जय राम। श्री राम जय राम, जय जय राम। श्री राम जय राम, जय जय राम।
बोलो श्री राम
जय राम, जय जय राम, जय जय राम। श्री राम जय राम, जय जय राम। श्री राम जय राम, जय जय राम।
The Lebanese prophet Khalil Gibran, he told the world, he's explaining this concept of hard work. Some of us think that hard work is required for success. Is that true? Hard work is required for success? Absolutely. But it's not just hard work. In this very beautiful Chopai in Lanka Khan, there's a conversation about building a bridge. A Herculean task. We're told 800 yojans, many, many miles, from the southern tip of India to Lanka. And this bridge requires hard work. So the task at hand was to achieve the bridging of the gap across the ocean between the southern tip of India and Lanka. But a piece of advice is given by the leader. And this leader is none other than Jambavant. He's the head of the tribe, or the head of the army. And he's instructing, he says, Boli liye kapi nikar bahori sakala sunahu binti kachumori. He says, after giving the instructions to the Nal and Neel, the architects of the bridge, this gentleman by the name of Jambavan, he called everyone together and he said, hear me. I am asking you that while you are taking these rocks and trees and the instruments of sand to bind them together to construct this bridge of hundreds of miles, he's saying, don't forget to take the name of Ram. Don't forget to take the name of the Lord as you go about your hard work. So does hard work bring success? Absolutely. But the success that we're looking for, remember, life is half of what happens to you, but the other half is how you respond to it. When you are building your bridge, oh children, when you are building your bridge, it will not always, probably, may not always work out the way that you want it to. And if the result is not exactly the same as you have planned or projected, then the process of building the bridge, according to Bhagavad Gita, is equally important to the end result. And therefore he's saying, don't just work hard, you must have something that comes from within. 50 years as a chartered accountant. That's the professional label that goes at least as a subpart of 80 years. But what is not spoken about yet, and you will hear later tonight and into tomorrow, you will understand that this individual is an individual of balance. This audience here this evening is a reflection of that balance. And therefore, we must think about our life in such a way that when we are building our bridges, there must be some other aspect of life that we must inculcate during the process of hard work. Some say it is prayer. Some say it is taking God with you along your journey. Some say it is to enjoy some moments of silence during periods of your day that you think about or you're reminded that what you're doing, whether as a politician, as a businessman, as someone in a medical field, as a guru, as a musician, as an artist, whatever it is, you must pause for a moment and understand that you're doing it as part of the bigger Leela, the bigger unfolding of life. Sadguru Jagi Vasudev, he reminded us this year. He says, this year you must not just enjoy your success, but you must treat your successes as a smaller piece of the larger landscape that is called life. We must understand that the roles that we play, it is part of the larger Leela, the larger unfolding of this universe, and we have a role to play. And therefore our success, we're not islands in the sun. We're not sitting alone in isolation, and our success is not dependent only on what we do. Our success is also based on taking others along our journey. And therefore, there's a very powerful word that comes in this instruction by the leader of the tribe, Jambavan. He says, you must be inspired. There are lots of people who go to work. I was reading a medical review some years ago, and we're told that statistically speaking, and this was a statistic out of the US, that they found that episodes of heart attack happened between 1 hour before reaching to work and 1 hour after reaching to work on a Monday morning at the start of the work week. It's an interesting statistic because it reminds us that there are those who are doing a job because it is a means to an end to acquire income. Is that success? For that individual where an income is more important than anything else, that may be success. But when you look at life more holistically, that alone is not enough. And therefore, when we think about the word inspiration, when we do what we do, it must be fueled by something deeper. Maslow's theory speaks about that hierarchy of needs. And therefore, when we do what we do in life, whatever it is, my friends, it must be fueled by inspiration. There's a beautiful scripture that is called the Yoga Sutra, written by Patanjali. And in one of those sutras, in those verses, Patanjali reminded the world, he says, and this is in modern language now, I'm not quoting, I'm paraphrasing. Patanjali says, if you want to create a genius in this world, I believe also Swami Chinmayanandaji rephrased it. He says to create a truly successful person or a true genius, it requires 99% perspiration, hard work, sweat, toil, effort, strategy. But what's the 1%? Inspiration. Inspiration means there must be something that fuels you. Because in life, on your journey, it will never always go as planned. And that which keeps you on course, or that which helps you to change course and re-navigate your strategy, that's something that is called inspiration. When you live your life in spirit, it means that whatever happens to you, or whatever the outcomes are, or the consequences along your journey, there's always a higher purpose that is guiding what you do in this world. So what brings success? It is not just favorable results. What brings success? It is not just hard work. It is inspiration behind the hard work. And as I conclude here this evening, please join with me as we chant the final, very beautiful verse that says there's a little something you must sprinkle on that pathway that you're walking that ensures success. What is that? Let's join. Shri Ram Jaya Rama Ram Jaya Ram, Jaya Jaya Rama, Shri Ram Jaya Ram, Jaya Jaya Rama, Raja Rama, Shri Ram Jaya Rama, Jaya Jaya Rama, Shri Ram Jaya Ram,
Jaya Jaya Rama, Raja Rama.
Muni Raghunath chale ban aage, Muni Varavinda vipul sang lage, Asti samuha dekhi Raghuraya, Pucha Munina lagi adidaya, Pucha Munina lagi adidaya. Let's sing. Shri Ram Jaya Rama, Shri Ram Jaya Rama, Jaya Jaya Rama,
Shri Ram Jaya Ram, Jaya Jaya Rama, Raja Rama.
Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram,
Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram.
oh Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram,
Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram.
oh Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram,
Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram.
Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram,
Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram, Bolo Ram.
Prince Bolo Syamara Ramachandra ki jai. In his final verse of Aranya Kanda Ramcharitramanas, Tulsidas describes a milestone in the life of Sri Ramchandra ji. He has just received word about the death of his father, and having gone through the bereavement process, Tulsidas carefully and meticulously documents certain words. In 1/4 of a verse, these are the words. Puni, please repeat after me. Puni, Raghunath, Chale, Ban, Aage. Then the Lord moved forward. The brothers and sisters of Rastafarian movement have coined a phrase that everyone knows. Forward ever. Puni Raghunath Chale Ban Aage. We're reminded that the Lord moved forward in the midst of very disappointing news. He did not even get a chance to light the fire for his father. But he bereaved. He went through the bereavement process. And having gone through and experienced the downs of life, Tulsidas was very careful to say, the Lord moved forward. And therefore, as we conclude tonight, that which is required for success, it is the independent, the sthita prajna state that you see life for what it is. Secondly, it says that we must understand that in the swinging of the pendulum, you must find the opportunities. What is required for success? Hard work. But hard work fueled by inspiration. And as we conclude tonight, we're reminded of the word of persistence. Persistence means that when the things that happen are not favorable, dust your pants, stand up, and keep on keeping on. As I came here this evening, I spoke to Bob about 4 times today. And Bobji said, Panditji, he's talking in a very heavy voice. Virus seems to be getting the better of me, or maybe it's just tiredness. And I said, Bob, with that voice, I can't call you to sing tonight. And he said, Panditji, don't worry, next year I will sing. That's the spirit. It is not about being down. It is about keeping on. And therefore, persistence, it is not just a word. Persistence is an attribute that we must carry with us when life happens to us. I leave you tonight with another powerful mantra. We started with, God grant me the serenity, but I leave you with another very powerful mantra. And I'm sure many of you would have heard it, if not recently, with your children or your grandchildren. It's a mantra that I want you to take home tonight. It goes like this. Row, row, row your boat. Have you heard that mantra before? Gently down the street, children. Merrily, 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 merrily. What is it? Life is 80 plus 50 years. Life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat. The author didn't say, row your boat gently down the stream. The author said, row, row, row. Who? Work, hard, perspiration, toil, sweat. 99% perspiration. Row, row, row. That's important. Whose boat? Your boat. Nobody would row it for you. You have to do that which you must do. Having the blessings of the saints and sages and reading all the books must translate itself into something different at the localized level. Your boat. How? Gently down the stream. Gently down the stream. Don't fight the currents. The currents will take you and toss you. Life will sometimes turn you upside down. But don't fight it. It's life. Gently down the stream. Navigate and get to safer waters. But the moment you fight that which happens to you, you're competing with the natural flow of energies in this world. And if you do that, merrily, 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 you would see that life, what you think is real, and the things that you may think once were totally important, in hindsight and in reflection, the successes that you define in your life, whether it's 80 plus 50, or it's just celebrating Saturday evening at 7:31 p.m. If you look at life differently with a wider pair of lens, clearing the filters and seeing it for what it is, possibly you would come to the conclusion that life is just a dream. Prem se bolo Sri Satya Sanatan Dharma ki Jai. Please join with me. I feel incomplete without touching the feet of Bhagwan Shiva tonight in this concluding kirtan. Yogishwaraya Mahadevaya Sarveshwaraya Sadashivaya. Let's chant. Sarveshwaraya Sadashivaya. Sarveshwaraya Sadashivaya. Sarveshwaraya Sadashivaya. Sarveshwaraya Sadashivaya. Mahadevaya Namaha. Mahadevaya Namaha. Mahadevaya Namaha. प्रेम से बोलो श्री उमापति महादेव की
Jai.
This evening, taking that term, the promise of a seed is a forest. We see a forest here, so many different fruits and so many different leaves. The seed of Bob Gopee, not just in his children, but in his spread across Trinidad and Tobago, in the spheres of culture, in the spheres of religion, religious activity, business, commercial activity, Trinidad and Tobago, the region, and internationally through the Rotary Club and other such organizations. May we have a round of applause for our birthday boy, Uncle Bob. Very, very happy birthday to you, Uncle Bob. Happy 80th. And of course, happy 50th anniversary as a chartered accountant. 130 years of contribution to humankind. I say humankind, not just Trinidad and Tobago, but I think you've touched so many in so many places. You'll be hearing from quite a few different people who have been a very important part of Uncle Bob's life. One such person is a friend who I see listed as a friend from the country, because we all know Uncle Bob grew up in what we term to be the country. And this very distinguished individual is Mr. Michael Bazzi. Mr. Bazzi has a particularly distinguished academic and work record. Coming from the Southwest Peninsula, he attended Queen's Royal College on an oil company scholarship as one of the 2 highest placed students in the national examinations of that day. He subsequently received a government scholarship to the Royal Military Academy in Sandhurst, a Ford Foundation Fellowship to Columbia University, New York, and thereafter pursued postgraduate studies at the Hult International Business School, former Arthur D. Little, of Cambridge, Massachusetts, United States of America. And then he went on to pursue doctoral studies at the University of Glasgow in Scotland. Mr. Bazzi is largely accredited with effecting the turnaround of the national flour mills during the years 2013 to 2016, where he served as chairman of its board of directors. He is at present a consultant in the private sector. May we welcome Mr. Bazzi to give his greetings on this very auspicious occasion.
Presiding Pandit Ramdeen, other Pandits, Mr. and Mrs. Bob Gopee, the Gopee family, Master of Ceremonies, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen. The program refers to me as a country friend, so let me assure you that it's from that perspective that I speak this evening. And from the country, from the Southwest Peninsula, I say to you, Mr. Bob Gopee, a very, very happy birthday. At first glance, it would seem that all birthdays resemble one another. Yet, as the decades pass, and after a life of solid achievement, a birthday of 80 years resonates in its own special and unique way. This evening, on the occasion of Mr. Bob Gopee's birthday, we meet to express to some degree our feelings towards him, for he remains one of the most beloved, one of the most respected, and without doubt, one of the most distinguished sons within our Southwest Peninsula. Admired certainly for his humility, intellect, humanity, and foresight, he remains a light in our Southwest region. Of these virtues, the most significant to my mind is his quiet and unheralded philanthropic zeal within the community, and especially among the students he embraces and cherishes. On this occasion, I am immediately reminded of the immortal lines of the Vedic scholar, and I quote, "He that was never submitted to education, never meditated, never given alms, never had pride, never sought any skill, and has been devoid of all dharma, such a man is useless to society, an undeserved weight upon an already overburdened earth," unquote. Bob has lived demonstrating mightily to us all throughout his 80 years that he imposes no weight upon an already overburdened earth. Indeed, he has added so much value. So fitting it is to remember that some decades ago, Bob journeyed out of Chatham in the bowels of the southwestern peninsula in order to attend Naparima College. At the tender, sheltered age of 12 years, immersed in the harsh rigors of a closed and distant rural setting, he knew little of life elsewhere on the island, except for the occasional exposure to nearby Point Fortin. We who followed in his footsteps some years thereafter were always aware of the great gulf in psychological and real terms between the marginalized nature of peninsular life and the city of Port of Spain. In those days, Venezuela, a few miles across the sea, seemed closer and more inviting. This marked distance and differentiation between country and town was felt and internalized, and it was left to the early pioneers of high academic excellence, like our Bob Gopee, to blaze a trail fearlessly for those who came after, to set the necessary high standard, so to speak. Forged from this crucible, the boy wonder Bob Gopee dared to dream and achieve. The past 68 years speak to the conduct of a beautiful mind. From his initial journey from Chatham to Naparima College and University, and subsequently through many reputable posts in the world of work, particularly in the field of accountancy. What is little known is that for many years past, on an annual basis, through his own Bob Gopee Foundation, he returns to the peninsula and hosts a special and truly impressive ceremony dedicated to all successful students in the SEA. The prizes and financial incentives provided to each student are donated in the hope of ensuring their academic success in turn. 80 years have not taken the village out of our Bob. I can only emphasize that from our perspective in the Peninsula region, Bob Gopee has become a model of what our elders should be. He has brought the ideas of sharing and selfless sacrifice to their freshest and purest expression. For many of these students, he is the father and provider that they never had. These few remarks only provide a snapshot of reminiscences of our dear Bob's life and times. Men who act as he does and continue to give all in the service of the intellect of the children of the peninsula simply grow in stature with each passing day and live within our hearts. A special blessing to you, dear Bob. You continue to so live that it would be an injustice if there were no life after death. A very happy birthday from the country, the peninsula. Thank you.
One of those very important seeds is someone by the very beautiful name of Rendra. Rendra is, of course, the son of Uncle Bob. Rendra is an assurance partner and business development leader at PricewaterhouseCoopers in the Caribbean. He has over 22 years of public accounting service with large, complex clients across a broad range of industries. Rendra currently resides in St. Lucia, but has several responsibilities for professional work between Trinidad and Jamaica as well. Rendra is a very proud son of Uncle Bob, the very proud father of three beautiful children, Darian, Simran, and Samir. We welcome Rendra Gopee.
All protocols observed. Pundit ended with, "Life is but a dream." Amazingly, Mike also referred to these dreams And without knowing what Mike was going to say, I also refer to dreams. From a little boy growing up in Chatham with a dream to graduate from the University of West Indies, to 50 years in the business and 80 years young. We are here today to celebrate my dad's birthday. I would say a milestone birthday, but Dad would not really differentiate between one year or the other, because in his words, they're all milestones. I'm extremely proud of my dad's journey because much of who he is today was shaped by that journey, and in turn, it has shaped who I am as well. Dad, the teacher. After UWI, Dad taught at school for a few short years, and as he reflects, I can now understand why homework was such a structured process at home. Dad did everything in his power to try to encourage us to apply ourselves diligently, which sometimes we may not appreciate at age 10 or 11, but his actions made the necessary impact. Dad, the brave soul. After teaching, Dad boarded the SS Fland in 1967 to the UK to pursue his accounting studies. Just imagine how daunting that would have been. Getting on a ship to a new country, a new culture, new food, different weather patterns, etc., to continue his pursuit of education. Many of the friends he made on that journey and in the UK remain close to this day. Dad, the focused one. Dad finished his ACA in a relatively short time, and to top it off, I was also born during that time. And while I'd like to think I was a pleasant distraction, I know that he maintained focus to achieve his ultimate goal. After qualifying, Dad needed to spend time in an accounting firm to get his practical experience and tried hard to get a job in Trinidad. But that was a different time, and it did not work that way. He spanned the region for opportunities, and KPMG St. Lucia offered him a position while under the then partner, Willie Rapier. I think that flight from the UK to St. Lucia was possibly my dad's first long-haul trip on a plane. From a boy looking up in the sky and dreaming, to boarding a plane as a qualified accountant. Dad with the larger-than-life personality. Many of the friends Dad made in St. Lucia remain friends today. Dave Ramprasad, who's here today, Errol Arjun, who's also here today, and Lyle Chase, to name a few. In fact, many of those friends have become mentors and business colleagues to myself as well. In a strange twist of fate, I was asked to open an office for EY in St. Lucia in 2013. And Lyle Chase, someone my dad hired and mentored, gave me my very first job in St. Lucia as the auditor of Bank of St. Lucia. I never met Willie Rapier, but his daughter came to me for a job about 5 years ago in St. Lucia. And while I did not have a position for her at the time, I made sure I used my network to land her a job. How can one forget what her father did for mine? In fact, I cannot begin to count how many doors Dad has opened for me across the region, given his roles in Rotary, business, etc. I walk into many boardrooms across the region, and either the name, the similar look, or the walk gives it away. So I cannot really hide. But why would I want to hide when Dad's relationships has been the catalyst to much of my success in the region? Relationships drive business, and much of Dad's success is a direct result of long-standing relationships across islands, generations of families, industries, and cultures. R. Bob Gopee and Company. After his practical experience in St. Lucia, Dad returned to Trinidad and worked for the Management Development Center for just over 2 years under his now-deceased lifelong friend, Neve Beckles. However, this man was on a mission, and the birth of R. Bob Gopee and Company started and went into full swing after he left the Management Development Center. My parents bought a home on 20 Hamilton Holder Street for 75,000 TT in the 70s, and Dad opened his office on part of the ground floor of that home. From the early 70s to now, R. Bob Gopee and Company has grown from part of a ground floor of our home to office buildings in San Fernando, Chase Village, and Port of Spain, serving clients the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago. Dad's commitment to religion. Dad is deeply committed to Hinduism, but open-minded to all religions. He firmly believes that having religious beliefs is more important than a particular religion. Religion connects the dots for Dad and helps him to prioritize what is most important. Dad, Nalini could not be with us today due to her recent medical challenges, but wanted to let you know that she's extremely thankful for all the hours of counsel you provided to her during the last few months and wishes you all the best. My words today are a reflection of how she feels as well, and I have no doubt that Shivanti feels the same. Following are some thoughts from my children and Nalini's daughter Maya. Samir, Grandpa G, I really enjoy our dinners at Angelo's, and I look forward to sharing my grades with you, at least for now while they're really good. I know that you like to ask a lot of questions, which is just like me, so I know that we're related. I'm sorry that I beat you the last time at Hangman, but I'll give you a chance the next time we have dinner. Simran, Grandpa, I admire your meticulous personality and tenacity. I wish you a phenomenal birthday celebration and many more to come. I would have liked to come to dinner with you on Monday to celebrate the actual day of your birthday, but Dad had me in St. Vincent attending a client dinner. I wonder where he gets that from. Virendra, or Darian, Grandpa G has always been inquisitive. Why gel in your hair, Darian? Keep it natural. Why give up a career as a lawyer to become a master brewer, meaning a brewer of beer? His questions was a way of understanding, connecting the dots, and accepting any aspect of my life. While I live in Canada and sometimes communicate less often than I should, I've always felt supported by Grandpa G. Maya, which is Nalini's daughter. Grandpa G, I like receiving letters from you, and I sometimes do not always return a response to you immediately, but I'm busy with school and dance. I promise to write you a beautiful letter for your 80th birthday. Save some cake for me. I have always emulated my dad, at least in some respects, and there are pictures of me at age 5 or 6 with a tie on my neck and a briefcase in my hand. Today, we do not walk around with briefcases because much of what we need is stored electronically. But the same principles that built this great man still hold firm. Deep relationships, immense integrity, wisdom, and open-minded religious beliefs. These words today have done little justice to the rich legacy of a great man, but on my dad's birthday, I thought I'd share this story from a slightly different perspective. To share a career with a parent is special, but to have Nalini, Shivanti, and myself all as qualified accountants is even more special. Dad, you have taught us a lot, and we are tremendously grateful. On behalf of your children and grandchildren, we wish you all the best today and into your long future.
If it is one thing we know about Uncle Bob, besides his hallmark smile, is that I think a lot of the time his smile comes from his enjoyment of certain activities, one of which is music. And so, this evening, I'm very pleased to introduce Sri Rafi Hussain. Rafi ji currently resides in St. Lucian Road, Dago Martin, and has been a senior teacher with the Indian High Commission for the past 25 years. He is heavily involved in the promotion of Indian culture in Trinidad and Tobago and is one of the most popular and most distinguished Hindi teachers in this country. Rafi ji has been a singer of Hindi songs also for the past 20 years, which awarded him a final place in Mastana Bahar many, many years ago. He is obviously a favorite singer of Uncle Bob, and this is why this evening we are so happy to welcome him to the microphone to do one of his songs specially chosen for Uncle Bob on this occasion. May we welcome Rafi ji.
लौट के आ लौट के आ लौट के आ लौट के आजा मेरे मीर लौट के आजा मेरे मीर तुझे मेरे गीत बुलाते हैं लौट के आजा मेरे मीर तुझे मेरे गीत बुलाते हैं मेरा सुना परारे संगीत मेरा सुना परारे संगीत तुझे मेरे बरसे गगन में बरसे नयन देखो तरसे है मन अब तो आजा बरसे गगन में बरसे नयन देखो तरसे है मन अब तो आजा शीतल पवन ये लगाए आंगन दो सजन अब तो मुखरा दिखा जा तूने भली विभाए प्रिय तूने भली रे निभाए प्रिय तुझे मेरे गीत बुलाते हैं आ लौट के आजा मेरे पल है हंसना एक पल है रोना कैसा है जीवन का खेला एक पल है हंसना एक पल है रोना कैसा है जीवन का खेला एक पल है मिलना एक पल बिछड़ना दुनिया है दो दिन का मेला ये न जाए भी ये घड़ी न जाए भी तुझे मेरे गीत बुलाते हैं आ लौट के आजा मेरे मीत तुझे मेरे गीत बुलाते हैं मेरा सुना परार संगी मेरा सुना परार संगी तुझे मेरे गीत बुलाते हैं आ लौट के आजा मेरे मीत Thank you so much ladies and gentlemen. Uncle Bob, happy birthday to you, so please enjoy all the rest.
And the many facets of Bob Gopee that we are learning about this evening continues. To offer his contribution to our celebrations this evening is Mr. Brian David Hewitt. He is the principal of the firm B.D. Hewitt and Company. He was admitted to practice law in London in 1977 and in Trinidad and Tobago in 1978. He comes from a family of lawyers, following on the footstep of his father, who was the city clerk at the Port of Spain City Corporation for many years. His wife is a legal consultant with his firm. His daughter is also an attorney at law, studied law in London and Amsterdam, and now lives in Finland. He is a very proud grandfather of one beautiful granddaughter. Mr. Hewitt's firm has been carrying out varied law practice both in Trinidad and Tobago for over 35 years. Mr. Hewitt has a speciality in space and telecommunication law from the Barcelona Space University and served at the ITU, the International Telecommunication Union, as a telecommunication law advisor in Malawi, Ethiopia, Geneva, and Suriname. May we please welcome Mr. Brian David Hewitt.
Master of Ceremonies, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. Most of all, our guest of honor, Ramgani Bob Gopee, who I will refer to as Bob. Today is indeed a very special day as we celebrate the successes and achievements of our dear friend, Bob. Let me start by saying that I first met Bob over 30 years ago when I was introduced to him by his late brother, Rambawan, who some of us knew him as Bones in Tobago as his attorney at law. From then on, my relationship with Bob grew and strengthened not only as one of his legal advisors, but as a friend, and more so, a person who I consider my brother. As we celebrate Bob's 50 years in accounting business and 80 years of life, Bob was not only a chartered accountant, a successful businessman, and devoted family man, but I dare also to describe him as a leader, a teacher, a writer, and a spiritual leader. And may I also say a singer? Most notable was Bob's kind and unselfish nature and the charitable works through the Bob Gopee Foundation, the Rotary Club, and many other charitable organizations. One could not escape Bob's many lessons from the Bhagavad Gita at his yearly Diwali gatherings, topped by the singing of the bhajan by his wife Pamela and himself. Bob has not given up being a teacher. He continues to contribute to the children of his hometown school of Cedrus Government School. His many educational programs and activities through the Bob Gopee Foundation cannot go unnoticed. Whenever you met Bob, you will not depart his company without some words of wisdom and good advice. His writings and his many books bear testimony to his love to share his knowledge, experience, and wisdom with others. Over the years of knowing Bob, I could not help but admire how meticulous and organized a person he is. His dedication to his business, how much he cared for his family and his friends, his devotion to his religion, and most of all, his tireless works and efforts in serving the less fortunate in society. Much has been said by the persons who went before me, and there's much more that can be said about Bob. But I know the speaker who is to follow will have a lot to say. Let me end, therefore, with some words from the late Mother Teresa, which I may safely say summarizes Bob's journey and which he embraced and continues to embrace through his life. And I quote, "Life is an opportunity. Benefit from it. Life is beauty. Admire it. Life is a dream. Realize it. Life is a challenge. Meet it. Life is a duty. Complete it. Life is a game. Play it. Life is a promise. Fulfill it. Life is sorrow. Overcome it. Life is a song. Sing it. Life is a struggle. Accept it. Life is a tragedy. Confront it. Life is an adventure. Dare it. Life is luck. Make it. Life is too precious. Do not destroy it. And life is life. Fight for it." End of quote. Linda and I consider it a great honor and privilege to share and celebrate with you. We congratulate you, Bob, on all your achievements and which you continue, and we wish you continued good health, continued success in your business, and a happy and fulfilling life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hewitt. Of the many things that Bob Gopee is, one of the most important is that he is a family man. Around him on his table is his family, but also next to him is also our very close members of his family. One such is a very important person in our society, Senator the Honorable Paula Gopee-Scoon. Mrs. Gopee-Scoon is currently the Minister of Industry and Trade in the Government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, a post she has held since 2015. She has served before as a Member of Parliament for Point Fortin and as former Minister of Foreign Affairs during two of Trinidad and Tobago's most important functions in 2009. Mrs. Gopee Schoon has been so popular as a politician the last few years of her life that we forgot that she was a banker for many, many years, as well as a director and part owner of a manufacturing company and the service company serving Trinidad and Tobago. May we welcome the niece of Uncle Bob, Senator, the Honorable Paula Gopee Schoon.
And let me acknowledge Pandit. I missed most of it because Prime Minister had an emancipation celebration, but I had to leave, and of course, Uncle Bob always comes first. But Pandit, your words were so very good, especially the thing about rowing your boat and moving merrily along the way. Life is not easy for most people, and merrily, 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 I wish most of us would adopt that disposition. Life would be a lot better. Thank you so much. Let me acknowledge Mr. and Mrs. Bob Gopee, my very dear uncle, all of my cousins that are here, his only sibling, Auntie Dooney, and of course I'm seeing a lot of other 80-year-olds at the front here, including Dr. Brensley, Sam Rowe, and so on. And I thought I'd say a little bit about what life was when Uncle Bob was born. This was about 1939, and nobody realizes how different it was. In those days, the World War II had just begun, and the Spanish Civil War, you would know about, had just ended. And in Trinidad and Tobago, we were under British rule. And those were very, very difficult times of struggle. And I put it into context to say from whence Uncle Bob came. And those days, I think about a loaf of bread may have been 10 cents. That's if you dare to buy a loaf of bread because you made your bread every night. A car may have been about $2,000, and that would have been a luxury because in those days, the form of transportation would have been a donkey cart. And in many countries, it still is, like in Cuba and so on. A house would have been about $10,000 then. Far different now, but you would hardly have paid the $10,000 because all of your friends came along and you bought things and chirrup, and you made a home. And that's the kind of life that Uncle Bob came from. And then, if you think about the movies, I thought about that coming down. In those days, the big movie of the day was Gone with the Wind. And now, it is about the Great Hack, and which is about Cambridge Analytica, and shows you how times have changed. I put all of this into context, the year that Uncle Bob was born. He was the last child of Chagru and Rajwantia Gopee. And you can imagine being the last child, he would have been spoiled, and he would never want to admit this because he's not one to spoil at all. And his children would bear me out on that. In fact, he turned out to be quite a disciplinarian. And that's something we valued in him, and we saw in him and we learned from him. And those are very, very difficult times, as I said before, but he was very fortunate, and it is because he was very scholarly. And I believe he loved school, far different from my father, Bonnie Gopee, who would sit on a mound of pitch at the Chatham Government School and would refuse to go to school. But he was a huge success. Thankfully also to Uncle Bob, who guided him. They were very, very close. So Uncle Bob and so that Mike would have spoken and Brenda would have spoken about his days at Naprima College. But what I do remember is the departure of Uncle Bob to London on the SS Flange, and we all went aboard the ship with him. It was very, very sad for him and for my dad as well. And I remember in those days, the blue, I think it was a little square thing. That's how we wrote, how we communicated. I forgot what it's called. But anyway, he communicated often with my dad. Such was his love for him and his respect for him. He was the one studying. I think my dad helped him a lot. And he would in turn support my dad quite a bit in business, as my father went through one thing to another and so on. Very, very, very wonderful friendship and respect for each other. But I said I remembered the SS Flange, and I remembered his return to St. Lucia and his return to Trinidad. I remember also his continual visits to our home in Point Fortin. He loved coming down to Point Fortin to my mother's cooking. I remember his respect and his love for my mother as well, and his reverence to her, because my mother was not Hindu, she was not Indian. But such was his broad-mindedness and his open-mindedness, which he still is today. That's his character. But he loved my mom, and he came to our home very often. And all through life, what I remember of him was his remarkable brilliance. And this, of course, is reflected today in his work as an accountant, and of course in his conversations, which we all enjoy, and we learn so much from him. And still go to him for consultation. I can tell you, I'm 60, I'm a government minister, and I go to my Uncle Bob when I have tough decisions, or just when I need to discuss something that is going on in the government and I need a sound mind. I turn to him. So he turns 80 today, and this is indeed a momentous occasion. And he has outlived all of his siblings but one, Tony, who is here today. Unfortunately, he still has all of you around, all of his friends, and his wife, his children, and all of you, his Rotarian friends, who are always there for him and who are very supportive of him. And he's not your usual 80-year-old at all. He's not absent-minded. He doesn't forget a thing. And of course, his teeth are not on the side of the bed. So, Uncle Bob is a remarkable 80-year-old. But one of his greatest attributes, so much was said about him, is what I see of him. And I see him as our protector. For me at 60, for Jen, who's my father's wife, and for her children, for Shabanti, for Rendran, for Nalini, for Pam, he's our protector. Whether it's, and I'm not talking about financial also. He's the one he is a patriarch of our family. He looks after us. We go to him. So I'm in public life, and I can tell you that I am always pleased to refer to my Uncle Bob Gopee. I'm so very, very, very proud of him and the remarkable trail that he has left in life. And life has been good to him, and he's made the best of life, and he's impacted us all. We really do love this man, Uncle Bob Gopee. And I could only wish you many, many years of good health and closeness with our family, visits to your home, consultation, conversation, and laughter. There's that side of him too. And singing, and his love of God, and love of his maker. We love him, and he's so very dear to us all. God bless you on this special occasion, Uncle Bob.
Thank you very much, Minister Paula Gopee-Schoon, this evening in her very simple and humble capacity as a very dear and loving niece. To take us into our mealtime, I'm very happy to present to you one who has worked tremendously in the development of Hindu culture in Trinidad and Tobago. The term Dharma Ratna comes to mind, a jewel of our country. I refer to Sri Ravi Ji of the Hindu Prachar Kendra, who will bless our meals before we proceed to have them. Sri Ravi Ji.
Let us close our eyes and bow our heads and put our hands together. Submit ourselves to that divine being that pervades all things, and offer our evening fare to that same divine being to strengthen ourselves and to expand our hearts in true love and best wishes to Sriman Bab Gopee ji and his family. Sahanavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahe Om Shanti 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 Om